Welcome to the 137th episode of News and Sports Dump, where we run through the hottest topics in the Lewis County news and sports scenes and discuss. I'm local man Aaron Van Tile, joined tonight by Chronicle assistant editor Isabel Vander Stoep and Chronicle sports editor Alec Dietz, and we're joined in spirit by sponsors Summit Funding and the Roof Doctor and Global Septic and Elam's Home Furnishings and AmeriCool Heating and Cooling. It's Tuesday, April 4th, and do we need to explain what's going on here?
I barely know what's going on.
Alec is here filling in for Eric Schwartz as far as podcast stuff goes.
So this is News Dump.
Yeah,
I'm the one that's filling in.
Wait, Alec's filling in for Eric?
Well, he's literally in his chair.
I
And
guess.
This is my chair.
As far as the podcast goes, like, you're in your usual seat.
That's true.
So am I.
I'm in my usual seat, and Alec is just like he showed up to the wrong podcast, pretty much. Kind of.
I guess that's sort of what happened, but also I thought of it as I could be replacing Josh on the sports dump.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
the
I guess
same
you could
seating
look at it.
setup.
God, oh boy, this is one of those like those pictures they show you on the internet. It's like turn it upside down. and
It's a
instead of
bunny or a
duck, it's like
rabbit
whatever.
it's a yeah,
Yeah.
a duck.
It's kind of what we're doing here. Anyway, we're just going to talk about a bunch of stuff. We'll see how it goes. Expectations are low, as you've come to expect. So I hope you like it. If you're a News Dump listener and you like what Alec has to say, check out Sports Dump. If you're a Sports Dump listener and you're very confused, hopefully you learn something about the news. Is that square with everybody?
Yeah, I think
More than it's ever going to be.
we should just call it Chronicle Dump because this is the whole paper.
Yeah, pretty much.
The whole paper's in this room right now.
Yeah.
Everything. We've got it all, yeah.
Except obituaries. We don't have that.
Cemetery. Well, we are talking about cemeteries in our first news item, so
True.
pretty close. First news item, after county repossession, volunteers work to restore Mountain View Cemetery. This is the cemetery kind of up by Safeway behind Les Schwab there. It fell into disrepair, and the old owner, William Rickard, I didn't double check that. Is that the guy's name?
Yeah.
He didn't pay his taxes for 3 years. He hasn't turned over records or anything either, so things are kind of a little bit of a jumble there. Since it was repossessed, however, there's been a lot of volunteers who have been working on the cemetery, including Craig Steepy of Chehalis. There's about a dozen people over there a couple days a week to fix things up, just kind of working place by place around the cemetery. And going forward, its future is very much up in the air. It could be declared abandoned and taken over by the state. It could be taken over by the city of Centralia. It could be set up as a taxable cemetery district or none of the above.
Yeah. It's, I guess, still feasible that it could be privately run or run by a charity board or nonprofit or something. I think really no one knows at this point. But the fact that people are going out there and cleaning it up on their own volition, I think is really sweet. And it's been in disrepair for several years. And I think it's worth noting, just to the credit of the previous owner, like back in the day, you didn't have to pay taxes on cemeteries if you owned them. But now you have to go through an exemption process, and I think that complicated the issue in some ways. Like if you're not very savvy, how do you take care of this stuff? But at the same time, these are people's family members who are buried there, and seeing the place fall into disrepair, I think, is really disheartening for everyone. So it's taking a lot of work, and some of the graves are totally caved in, and basically it's dangerous to walk through parts of it. But these volunteers have done a lot of really great work, and just in the 2 months-ish since the repossession, it's made significant improvement. So I thought this was it's a happy story in a way.
Yeah, as happy as a story about a cemetery falling into disrepair can be anyway. Alec, where do you stand on cemeteries? Big fan?
I don't know if I have a lot of thoughts about this. I think it's cool that the community kind of came together to fix something, though. I think that's neat.
Spoken like a true sports fan.
What if it was like
If you can't tell, I'm looking over these notes for the first time now.
Okay, it's fine.
There's no shame in that. That's
Just like sports. Sports Dump's used to this.
That's to be fair, that's what Schwartz does when he's on too.
That's true.
Next item, Onalaska did the fish thing. Members of the community gathered at Carlisle Lake on Thursday to watch as students from Onalaska High School's aquaculture program released 100,000 coho salmon and 35,000 steelhead into Gear Creek. This is always a big photo op, and the paper covers it every year, and every year it still plays because you get pictures of kids and fish. And what more could you want?
And this is sort of a sports crossover, right? Like this is an outdoors story. Anglers benefit.
Sure. Sure.
When was the last time you were in Onalaska, Alec?
Oh, boy. When was the last time? I went there for a basketball game during the winter.
See a lot of fish?
Did not see any fish.
Well, you're in luck.
I don't
because
even
you
know
will
where.
next time.
This might be bad. Where's Gear Creek?
It's
It just
connected to Carlisle Lake.
Okay.
like right when you come into town, you take a left and go down towards the old like mill tower.
Which way into town?
Coming into town off of
508.
508.
508. Oh, okay. Okay.
Before Brenda's.
Yeah.
Brenda's Country Market.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I
everybody
know
knows.
that. I've been out there enough.
It's a nice little park out there.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys looked through the photos, but there was this one, it's kind of hard to see the fish in it, but there's this one where Jared got a shot of the tower. Why am I blanking on the name of it? I know it's like Carlisle Tower, but is it just tower or is there a name for
It's
that?
is it like a smokestack or something?
I don't know, whatever. So, like, that's in the background. You can see the lake. There's a bunch of people all over it. And right in the middle, there's a fish that's, like, jumping, and it's in focus. And it's, like I said, it's a little bit hard to see the fish, but it's a crazy picture. So good.
No, that's a tree, not the smokestack.
We could make that the cover art today.
Oh, yeah,
People
there it
can
is.
see
Look at
it.
that. Smokestack. I don't know what it's really called. Anyway, yeah, congrats on Alaska. You did the fish thing. Next item, just burning through these today. Thurston County Sheriff Derek Sanders was airlifted to Harborview after a collision. He was hit by an impaired driver in Yelm over the weekend, Saturday.
On Sunday afternoon at 3:30.
He is doing okay. The driver had recently consumed meth and is in jail for being criminally unlucky, among other things. But yeah, it sounded pretty positive as far as things can be when you've been airlifted to Harborview, right?
Yeah. What's really wild, and I only know this because of Thurston Scanner, who has done a great job with like getting information on this out quickly, but they shared that he radioed it in himself. So he wasn't like immediately unconscious, but I just think that's really interesting. Like, if you're a responder and you're in an accident yourself and then he calls and they're like, oh my gosh. So, I mean, I don't know the extent of his injuries, but I imagine dispatch took it more seriously than just like, oh, we got a call about a crash, right? Because they could actually talk to him, which how often does that happen where you know like what exactly is going on with the person who's in the crash. So it's just a really interesting and very unlucky, weird situation.
Yeah, and he was out just like on patrol basically on Sunday, it sounded like.
Yeah, the sheriff's office did not confirm with me whether he was on patrol, but they said he had been throughout the day.
Yeah.
I don't know that he was necessarily responding to a call or not, but it does sound like he'd just been going around in his car. So, yeah. But he is well now, and he was released that night.
Okay. Alec, do a lot of meth?
No,
That's what you ask about.
not at all.
Good answer. Next story. Centralia put final ARPA funds of $1.4 million toward ball field turf at Fort Morse Park.
Talk about a crossover.
Someone say
Yeah.
ball field?
Ball field? Alec perked up there.
Barely.
This reportedly came about because citizens were concerned that softball tournaments were moving to other turfed fields.
what other turfed field could they possibly be going to?
What could they be mentioning?
I wonder which one they are talking about nearby.
While Borst remained unusable during the rainy season, which, as we know, extends from January to into June sometimes. They haven't decided which fields at Borst Park are getting turf yet, but we have sports expert Alec Dietz here. Alec, which fields at Borst Park deserve the turf? Is it the softball fields, Wheeler Field, baseball fields? Where would you put the turf?
I would put it probably at the softball fields. That's where I would do it. I think Wheeler's kind of fine. They could probably do a better job of upkeeping it when it's like not in use. I think something that the baseball coaches kind of have to deal with when the season rolls around. It's like, oh, no one has touched this turf in like 6 months. So we need to like be here all weekend to get it right. So I think Wheeler's fine. I would do the softball fields. I think they're probably the best option.
Go ahead.
I think that's the option that the mayor was leaning toward, just suggesting that was the hope for these dollars to go toward, because Wheeler is in good shape. And she said something like, our boys have Wheeler Field and it's beautiful, and the girls deserve the same stuff, especially because there is the competition from a nearby turfed softball area that will not be mentioned. So it would be nice for Centralia to have its own like softball tournament area. I agree.
Yeah.
And it's worth pointing out, like, Chehalis' softball field only recently got turned, 2 years ago, something like that? And before that, one of the last years, before it got turf, they played one home game. The field was just unusable, through the entirety of a softball season, which is a very weird situation.
Bummer. Yeah.
Meanwhile, in Centralia, they have had grass fields, but Centralia has also played host to district tournaments for years, and it's a big event for the park. I'm sure it's a big money raiser for whoever's running the concession stand and that kind of thing. So it does make sense for Centralia, with all the infrastructure to host that kind of stuff, to put in turf fields on the softball. I agree, Alec. Good call.
Well, and I think the other thing is, the other field we aren't mentioning already plays host to a district tournament and can't host anymore. And the Bees very famously play at Borst Park for their softball district tournament. They don't really have any other options unless they want to go all the way up to the Rack in Lacey, which isn't really an option.
No.
It's kind of crazy how reliant the softball community is on the Twin Cities in general for its softball district tournaments, where there's a lot of baseball options. It definitely not as big. I mean, especially they have that Ridgefield complex now that they're putting so many different events at. I think softball's a good choice.
Yeah, and it has been wild over the years to be covering softball tournament at Borst Park in mid-May, when theoretically it should be nice weather, and to see games get rained out and pushed and pushed and pushed, and everything just kind of inching up against the last playable day before state comes in. So yeah, that's always been fun.
For a total layman like me, just kind of explain why you need a turf field for different kinds of weather. I don't even necessarily know that most people would really understand unless you play baseball.
Yeah, it's just the grass and the dirt fields. If you don't have turf and you've got that natural surface there, any amount of rain can ruin things. And if it's been raining for a few days and then clears off, then you might be able to get a game in. But if it starts raining, the water starts piling up really quickly. It changes the way a game can be played if there's still water on the ground. And even if you are able to keep it dry, it's expensive to just keep those big bags of diamond dry everywhere and to rush out and tarp everything all the time.
Right. You basically need a full-time grounds crew.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where you don't need that for a turf field.
No. And you can still, you will see games occasionally get rained out in a turf field, but if it's coming down to the wire and you need to get a game in, it's a lot easier to just say, you know what, we're going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And with WF West potentially turfing Bearcat Stadium, is it possible that Wheeler Field will have to get turfed anyways in the future, just for like all of these places locally to be like accessible?
I don't think so. I think that's a decision they can make. There's quite a few fields that have baseball fields that have turf, but it's not the norm yet.
And I think the other interesting factor is how does Centralia College's new turf surface kind of fit into all of this? Because I know that this year they're not planning on hosting anything, but they're going to start doing it in the future. They might start hosting games that get rained out on grass field. Obviously, Centralia High School has been kind enough to lend Centralia College at Wheeler Field for so many years. So that's another, like, I imagine turfing Wheeler Field is way down the line if it ever is discussed, just because of how many other options there are nearby.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Anyway, the city got $5 million total in American Rescue Plan funds, and we mentioned $1.4 million. The last $1.4 million is going towards turf. They also spent about $3 million on, and this is in total, sewer extension for Linda Lane off Johnson Road, kind of by Rite Aid, funding for West Side Connector planning, extending Schubert Road, 2 new cop cars, an ambulance, water system work at the fairgrounds, and a broadband grant program. So this is not the first idea they came up with to spend the funds. They've been doing a lot of improvements around the community on other things. What is West Side Connector?
So that is a futuristic dream of making life easier for you and me, where Centralia is connected to the west of Chehalis, Adna area. So it's basically Schubert Road, but a highway.
Interesting.
And I love the idea, but I don't think that I'm going to see it in my career lifetime of that commute. But no, I mean, the end goal, I believe, is to be able to literally connect Centralia to those communities easily, so people don't just go all the way in and then use I-5 and then down or whatever. So it's a cool idea, but I don't know if it's soon or
a ways down the road, probably.
Right,
it sounds
exactly. One thing though about the ARPA stuff that I want to say is thanks Centralia. They just are funding water system work at the fairgrounds, which is county property. They didn't have to do that. It's just very nice.
Yeah, it is. Well, we're not going to discuss it. Never mind. Next item. Accused Onalaska mail thief faces new charges. Combined bail increased to $300,000. Amber Ingram was formally charged with 6 new charges on Friday. Her arraignment is scheduled for April 6th, which is Thursday. These charges are related to a check she allegedly stole from the mail in last September, and a debit card she allegedly stole from the mail in January. This is just the case that keeps on providing content, which is also how Miss Ingram felt about mailboxes. Alec, thoughts on mail theft?
Don't do it. Especially the thing that confounded me about this is, in a small town, what are you doing? There's only just if you're going to do it, please don't do it in a town like Onalaska.
Yeah,
it's too easy to notice.
In a town this size, even in town, I will see cars go by and be like, "Oh, I know that guy. I've seen him around before."
Yeah.
Onalaska.
She's from Onalaska, but she stole mail from I think Mossy Rock, Chehalis, several different locations in Lewis County. So much so that I believe the Lewis County Sheriff's Office is just now finishing going through all of the mail that was confiscated from her person and from her home. And she was arrested months ago, I think.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Well, she got arrested and they let her out on bail, and then she stole more mail. And they're like, "Okay, come on, get back in here."
Okay, get back in here. That's what they said.
They found her at Walmart with more stolen mail in her pocket. God, just stop it. All right. Do you want to? I'm going to skip this item. The Lewis County Commissioners may get nearly 11% in salary raises, but we're going to wait and argue about that when Schwartz is here to temper my fury. And now we move over to.
Oh, you got this note wrong, by the way.
What?
This is what happens when you put the sports notes together.
Tenino didn't beat Rochester?
No, Rochester beat Tenino. You didn't even read it.
I read most of it. I read Josh's column about how lovely it was to be at a baseball park.
Yeah, it was lovely.
Yeah, I thought, I hope that wasn't reflected in the headline.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, good. Anyway, Rochester beat Tenino at Cheney Stadium, an all-hands-on-deck Chronicle sports event. Alec, you and Josh both went. Nightcrawler was there shooting photos.
Yeah.
What was it like at the old ballpark?
It was cool. It was cool. The last time I'd been at that park, I was interning for the TNT covering the Rainiers. So it was kind of cool to go back and see all the same sights again. The Bob Robertson, booth or whatever. Old guy who called the games. Yeah, it was a cool game. It was ugly. I mean, Rochester scored 11 runs on 3 hits. Yeah. This is one of those situations where the Tenino coach, Ryan Slusher, was saying, this is probably the only baseball game that was played on the west side because it was raining, it was hailing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like one of those cases where, and that what is actually a grass surface, but they had a full, grounds crew there because it's a AAA ballpark, one step away from the majors. So,
yeah.
It was cool. It was cool that, Tenino has now had multiple, obviously the football team got to play at Lumen Field up in Seattle where the Seahawks play, and now the baseball teams had the chance to play at a AAA ballpark. It's not where the Mariners play, but it's still a cool opportunity for them. So, and they put on a good event.
Mm-hmm. It made for some really cool photos too, because there were like rainbows and all sorts of different weather patterns.
The weather being
happening.
Incredibly chaotic. I know. I was sitting comfortably up in the press box. So
was it for this? Did they have to bring like their own announcers and stuff, or was it fully staffed?
Dave Montgomery did the announcing, but they had someone running the board, and they had like security staff. I don't even know if you want to call it security, but ushers. They had like one concessions booth open, so. They did a good job. It was way better than I remember the Moda Center setup when both the Adna teams played there, and this was last year. No one went back because it was just a mediocre run event. But the Moda Center where the Portland Trailblazers play, they hosted a bunch of high school teams last year. WF West went there, and they the scoreboard wasn't on. They didn't have any music playing during timeouts. Obviously, it was an empty arena, because it's a high school game across state lines.
Yeah.
And the only thing they had was like a tiny little scoreboard that faced the court, so the crowd couldn't even see the score, how much time was left on the clock.
So bad.
It was so bad. Once the game clock just ran out while they were holding for a last shot because they didn't know how much time was left because there was no clock. So anyway, it's just you didn't even do the bare minimum Moda Center. So Cheney did do a good job.
That's great.
They had the players' faces printed on the big board. Clearly they took photos right at the beginning.
That's really cool.
When they were up to bat and stuff. So yeah, they ran a good event. It should be a state venue, honestly. It's a good ballpark for it.
I'm sure it's a scheduling thing.
With the rain, yeah, but you could solve it's over one weekend, And I know the way AAA does stuff now is they do 5-day series with teams. So it could be when they're, 5 days away from Tacoma.
Yeah, host 384A up there or something.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's a lot more work to do it for that than for the one thing, though. Maybe.
I mean, they their plan was to do 2 days, but the first day's games that would have been on Friday got rained out.
Okay.
So they were planning on doing 2 days, which is all the state baseball tournament is. They only play the semifinals and finals at the last venue. So It's the same setup, but anyway, it's a good venue. Yakima was fine last year, so not really any complaints. The Pippins do a good job.
They've got a pretty good baseball setup over there.
And I know they're
Yakima
doing
Stadium.
Bellingham too, is where the 2As are this year, where the Bells play. So, they got a decent setup. I like Cheney though.
Where's the 2B1? Are they at Wheeler again? Where are they at?
Where are the 2Bs? I think they might be in the Tri-Cities for some reason.
Okay. Yeah, that might be it.
And I know that 2As, 1As are in Bellingham, and I don't know where the 3As, 4As are. Probably Yakima, maybe. I don't know. Everything's in Yakima.
Yeah, maybe. All right. Let's see. A sporting discussion is on the schedule next. What have we learned as of spring break? We'll start with this. Which baseball or softball team has been overachieving the most? It's been kind of surprising early on.
I know you want to bring this up. You put it in the notes.
I did. I put a mention on the note. I thought you would arrive at it organically, but go on.
I'm ready for you to say it.
Centralia softball. Yeah. They did it. They beat Chehalis. That hasn't happened in, what did we determine, 2011?
Yeah, you told me to text Ken Olson, and he got back to me immediately. He was there, apparently. And he was like, oh, yeah, it was my last game when you were in elementary school.
I remember covering that game. They dumped dumped a water cooler over him and everything.
He still had the rockin' mustache.
Hell yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, he had a strong mustache game by
I don't know if
Kenny.
did he have gray hairs? I was looking back at the photos, and the jerseys were crazy. They were wearing like the tank top ones.
Oh yeah,
I'm like, oh my God.
I forgot about. God, you're talking about this is like a different era, and I'm like,
it is a different era.
That long ago?
Yeah. The photos even look old. You know, yeah. It's like
who shot? Were those Pete or Brandon photos?
I think they were Pete.
What year?
2011.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, Centralia softball. Have they been?
Yeah.
Is it that they're good, or are they just the only ones I can think of?
I think it's early. You won't believe this. 2A SB Live top 10 rankings. Centralia number 5.
Really?
Yeah.
Who are the top 4 ahead of them?
The only Ridgefield's number 1 because they've kind of crushed everybody.
Yeah.
And WF West is 3, but Centralia ahead of Tumwater.
Is it just Centralia, or is the EVCO softball situation on a whole kind of topsy-turvy this year?
I think it's topsy-turvy so far. I think, you have, like Aberdeen beating Tumwater, and then Rochester beating Aberdeen, and then Tumwater beating Rochester. So you have like the 3-team, who knows what's going on there.
Yeah.
WF West beats Tumwater. Centralia, undefeated, beats WF West for the first time in over a decade. So far it's been pretty crazy. I imagine it kind of evens out after spring break, and we really see where everyone kind of truly stands. I don't think Centralia is going to take anyone by surprise anymore.
No, and it feels like there's a lot of parity in that league this year.
Yeah.
You believe?
I believe.
I think they could be good, but they're not going to like be out there, oh, we had no idea this girl could pitch this well. Holland Wakefield's been stepping up for them, didn't pitch at all for them last year, and has pitched very consistently for them. She's not going to be surprising people the second or third go around through. So that's where we'll really kind of find out if they're in that tier. It's going to be tough to get out of District 4 and make it to state. We talked about Ridgefield being number 1. They've beaten Rochester. They ruled Tumwater. And I think Mark Morris also beat Tumwater, and R.A. Long beat Rochester. So GSHL is looking pretty strong down there.
How does it work in the district to state? How many teams?
4 teams advance. Okay. So, I mean, it could be any one of 5 teams in the EVCO, and then that's not even taking into account the teams down south. So it's going to be a dogfight. It's going to be interesting to see who kind of comes out of it. But if anything, it's kind of fun to talk about the Evergreen Conference having more parity. We're so used to being the Central 2B Sports Dump podcast because of the parity there. Yeah. It's just more interesting to talk about than the typical WF West and Tumwater are going to run away from everybody in the EVCO. So,
well, especially since last year, I mean, you look at those 2 teams, and I don't think it's tough to look at last year's state tournament and be like, yeah, WF West and Tumwater were the 2 best teams in there.
Easily.
They should have been in the finals. It was a seating committee gaffe.
I've talked about that already.
But they were far and away the 2 best, and you could make a case that Rochester was underseeded.
Yeah.
They had a good year, and so those 3 all coming back, I think, the expectation was, WF West and Tumwater, it'll be them again. WF West is obviously replacing Cammie Dacus, who pitched every game for 4 years pretty much.
Yeah.
With a couple new pitchers. Tumwater's still got the Fitzgerald kid pitching. She's very good. Ferguson.
Yeah.
Not Fitzgerald.
You're good.
And but they're replacing some pop in the lineup.
Yep.
Centralia's kind of come out of nowhere. Aberdeen's got Lily Camp, who's a pretty good pitcher, sophomore.
Yep.
And Rochester's still in the mix there. So other than is Black Hills, didn't they just win something?
They've been beating some non-league teams, but they have not won a league game as of yet. Okay. They've been competing decently well, and then Shelton's the other kind of team that is probably outside of that 5 that have kind of been cannibalizing themselves up there, other than Centralia, who's undefeated.
Yeah. Could
So
you mention that one more time? Centralia's undefeated?
Centralia is undefeated.
I'll be damned.
Number 5, according to
to see
SB
it.
Live. Todd called me and he's like, "Are they for real?" And I'm like, "I mean, they're undefeated. Like,
Oh, yeah,
you
record-
gotta put them somewhere."
Ball
Like,
don't lie, Todd.
number 5 is kind of crazy though, I think. But yeah, the Centralia has been good. I think. Gosh, who else? I haven't really been surprised by anything else, I think. And I'm not even that shocked Centralia has won. I think is winning the games that they are. I think they're very solid across the board. They haven't made a lot of mistakes. I think they were sort of due for a start like this. I don't know if I'm really surprised at anybody, though. Adna has only won one game. That's because they've had a lot of rainouts and they've played a bunch of 4A teams. Adna softball. They're gonna run away with state championship. They're very good.
It's pretty early.
Might be. You want to?
No,
I'll put money on it though.
I don't know if I want to take that bet. I'm not going to bet against Von Moose and that whole crew.
Or
I saw
just-
him play
or just Adna
I saw him
softball.
play one game last year, and they were pretty good.
Yeah. PWV looking pretty good. On the baseball side, WF West has looked very good. That one is definitely more of kind of the boring Tumwater and WF West meeting, probably for a league title.
Which way are you leaning on that? Is Tumwater down a little bit?
Tumwater's having to do it a different way. Anytime you graduate 3 Division I pitchers with ERAs that were in the low ones, it's a little bit different for them this year. But they have a lot of power. Obviously, Alex Overbay, son of Lyle Overbay, the coach over there, is looking pretty good. He's hit a bunch of home runs. I think he helped throw a combined no-hitter and hit a home run against Centralia last week, which is just rude.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they're doing it a different way. And WF West, I've been as surprised as Hunter Lutman has been as consistent as he is. His biggest knock throughout his career has kind of been throwing strikes consistently. You knew he could, get close to triple digits with his speed on the mound, but he petered off towards the end of last year a little bit just because he couldn't find the strike zone. He threw a no-hitter last week against Black Hills. First one of our area, complete 7-game one, too.
Yeah, what was you and Schwartz were discussing no-hitters the other day?
Yeah, there were 3 days in a row is why. Hunter Lutman had one, and then Toledo's Rogan Stanley threw one the next day, and then Adna's Tristan Percival threw one the day after. So, should be. It's been an interesting year so far. I can't say I've been like overly surprised in anything, but it's fun to watch the local teams.
C2BL baseball. We already mentioned C2BL softball, EVCO baseball, softball. C2BL baseball. Who's the favorite? Is it Toledo?
Toledo's looked the most consistent so far. Just don't count out Tootle Lake. I think everyone was kind of counting out Tootle. I think because Toledo swept them at the beginning, right? First games of the year. They have 2 Division I pitchers on a 2B team. If their lineup can manage a couple runs a game, they will be in the mix once again.
The Swanson kid and
Swanson
the other Cox
and
kid?
Connor Cox, the younger one. He's actually their starter, their ace, just because he's a bit more consistent than Swanson. He's going to Portland, so
Okay.
not as good as his brother that got drafted in the second round of the MLB draft, but
Who could forget?
who could forget?
Oh man, must be tough.
It must be. He's still going D1. He's still good
Yeah.
at baseball. So I would say I'd probably bet on Tootle Lake being the team that comes out. Toledo's been very good. They very well rounded. I can't count out Napavine obviously after upsetting their way to a district championship last year.
Who could forget?
Adna's looked pretty good. They have all the parity that we normally talk about with the Central 2B. I think it's still pretty early to try to talk about who's kind of separated themselves from the pack. There's kind of a couple teams at the top and a couple teams at the bottom.
Okay. One more question: is anyone good at track? Do we have any?
We don't have any
state
nubbies.
champions in waiting?
We don't have any. Well, maybe a couple state champs, but no Jeremiah Nubbies.
Oh, he was so good. Where's he
was.
at now? Texas.
Texas, yeah. And I think he's pretty. I think during indoor season he placed at the Big 12 championship or something. So he's still looking pretty good.
Yeah, he was pretty
At
tough.
the college level as a freshman. There's a couple local kids that are doing pretty well early on. At WF West, Lucas Hoff pretty much wins for all 4 of the events he competes in.
Is he like a jumper vaulter kind of guy?
Pole
Sprinter, maybe?
vault. I don't think he does any running events. Maybe he does a relay, but he does javelin. He's pretty good. Pole vault. He's pretty good. I think he does long jump. It's hard to keep track of so many kids. So
what was that? His brother Seth last
Yes.
year that placed in a bunch of stuff.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So pretty athletic family. He's been good. Napavine's got a couple kids that could do pretty well. Kira O'Neill is a high jumper, and she's pretty good. Morgan Hamilton has turned out for track this year. I think this is her first year doing track. She's pretty fast. She's doing sprints. PL has a couple pretty good hurdlers in Carter Phelps and Charlie Carper. Favorite of the show, Charlie Carper.
Yes.
Gosh, I'm trying to think of any. I'm forgetting people, but that's what happens when you have to remember like 300 kids.
You've done good. You provided us a nice overview of where sports are at spring break.
No, you haven't. You completely missed an entire spring sport.
I was never asked about it.
Tennis?
Yes.
Well, we didn't
Also
talk about
soccer.
golf either. Like in
Soccer,
soccer,
come
there's
on.
just not a lot going on.
It's still early in the year.
Yeah, we'll
Fair.
get to that.
But-
WF West.
You just chose 3 sports to talk about, and we're like, thanks for telling us all about sports.
Yep, that's all the sports.
Once they get into league play, we can talk about it.
Yeah, we'll devote an entire episode
They
to
already have
tennis
been.
or whatever.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Shelton's in the league.
Oh, okay.
Shelton's EFCO and Tumwater and WF West played.
That's right. They did one league match
And
they lost.
Centralia and Tumwater. I actually don't think that I know of a non-league match that's been played yet.
But WF West has played a bunch of teams down south.
Okay. Well, I just haven't been watching WF West as much. I've been trying
Brutal.
to give a little bit of attention to Centralia because they deserve it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're doing fine.
They look
But
solid.
I'll be
you can
around.
talk about Centralia.
I'll be around to all the different the tennis. Well, at least to WF West and Centralia and maybe to Nino. So I'll be able to talk about it more later on. But yeah,
Good. Are we going to get Von Wasson on before state?
I feel like we have to.
We should invite him on. Our king.
We should. He was the first time I accidentally dropped an F-bomb on the show. Was
Yeah.
about Von Mossen.
I'm sure he would have loved that.
Well, it was in praise of him. It wasn't like it wasn't angry. What a wild time.
that
Yeah.
kid.
He's good. He's
Yeah.
really good at
He's
golf.
phenomenal. Is he going to win a state title this year?
I don't want to jinx him, but
Maybe.
he was in first after a day last year, and he won the district and league title. So golf is such a weird setup. Just like boys tennis, you know,
Yeah.
they play in the fall and they have to wait around and kind of stay in shape and then do state later in the year. So I'm assuming he's still golfing and he's not taking like a 6-month break.
Yeah, I'm
feel like-
sure he's been out there.
Yes, he
I
has.
feel like of all the sports, golf has to be the hardest to get a state championship in, and not just for that reason, but just for like the individuality of the whole thing.
So much has to go
And-
right for you too.
Yeah.
It's like if, what happened to Vaughn last year was he in first, and on the first hole, the second day, he hit a ball and they like lost it. It went into a tree and it never came down. And like that's just tough luck. And I think he only lost by a couple strokes, so it really kind of hurt him right at the beginning. And obviously, it's kind of demoralizing. So golf is tough, and you're competing against so many different people.
Yeah.
You never know if someone's just going to have like the day of their life. So, not that I don't golf. So,
Yeah, the state golf's it's a grind, man. It's the toughest competition out there.
tell us about it.
I-
Do the news dumpers know
That's
about
why-
your golf experience?
No, I know. That's why I've told them before. Like that's like super impressive. Like it's got to be really tough.
I did. I made it to state, and I had finished dead last, and it wasn't close.
Tough.
Yeah, it was rough.
Von Mossen
gotta
would be
say
laughing
it's-
at you.
I know.
Not so easy to get to state in tennis either.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. Yeah. Were you singles or doubles?
Doubles, 5th in doubles my junior year.
Do you want to shout out your teammate or?
Kyla Richards.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd know if you walked by WF West. They have a plaque and everything, and right next to their gym.
Our team
Every-
actually got 5th in the state that year, like WF West girls tennis, because of that. There's like not a lot of people who go to state, right? So like the top teams are always going to be like Seaholm and like Bellingham and whatever. So they were all grouped in as one, and then we just happened to also get the 5th. So we have a banner in the gym.
Very nice. No, every time I walk by the trophy case at WFS, I just look at those beautiful Chronicle front pages from state championships past and be like, just fine work.
They haven't gotten one since I've been here, so none of my words in there.
No, I guess not. When was their last WFS championship? Softball?
Yeah, I was just about to say, I think that must be softball.
2018, because girls basketball was also 2018? 2016?
Yeah.
2018? I think
I can't remember.
they haven't won one since I've been here.
If I were to ever
Or
ask,
bowling.
that's true.
They did win a state
yeah.
championship this
Yeah.
year.
That's
fair.
true. And what was it? The thing with guns.
Rifling?
Yeah, didn't they win that?
Did they?
Yeah, I think
We don't.
maybe.
We don't get anything from them, so I have no idea. But maybe. Congrats if you did.
Yeah.
Bowling's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Piper Chalmers very good at bowling.
Yeah. Quite good. Isabel, I heard you're looking for a house at some point or a place to live. How's that going?
Yeah, it's tough just like all the different costs and like trying to figure out like, if I do get into a place, how am I going to keep it cool and how am I going to warm it up? How am I going to fix my roof if something goes wrong? Where am I going to go to the bathroom? Am I going to,
Boy, do I have some news for you.
But what about the grease traps?
If you need to, just call all of our sponsors and they can all help you out. You need financing to figure out how to pay for this house? Jason Gillespie at Summit Funding. He's the best in the business. Look him up. You need to replace the roof on, maybe buy a fixer-upper. Maybe Jason's like, hey, I can help you get financing on this sick deal for a fixer-upper. Call our friends at the Roof Doctor. They'll give you a free estimate and everything. Free. They've been family-owned for 50 years or so.
And what about while they're fixing my roof if I don't want to use the indoor bathroom? Where will I go?
You got to call our friends at Goebel Septic. That's GOEBEL septic.com. They'll hook you up with portable septic and sanitation services. They could do commercial plumbing, grease trap services. Don't forget the grease trap services.
Seriously, they're very
Maybe you're
important.
moving into a repurposed Arby's or something.
And then like furnishing, like what if I want to like put stuff in the house?
Glad you asked. Call our friends at Elam's Home Furnishings and Mattress Center. They've got all the decorative crap you like and
All the decorative crap I like.
beds and like a TV stand, probably.
I don't know.
Maybe an ottoman.
And then lastly, comfort, as I was talking about in the beginning.
Oh, well, sometimes your house is either too hot or too cold, right, Alec?
Yeah. Oh, I know.
And who do you call?
Oh, the 24-hour hotline. Sometimes when I just want to complain about something, I'll just call them. Give me all the answers I ever need.
At AmeriCool Heating and Cooling.
What's that phone number again?
The phone number for Western Washington, 24-hour line.
24 hours.
360-273-3300, AmeriCool Heating and Cooling, where your comfort is their business.
Someone has like a guarantee, right?
They all do. All of
Okay.
it's guaranteed. The furniture, the septic work,
the
the
roofs.
roof, your
The
financing,
100%
has
satisfaction
to be.
guarantee. Where'd that?
Use code NewsDump for 50% off all these services at once, but only if you use them all simultaneously.
What a move. What if somebody does that and they're like, they lied to me?
I don't think anybody's going to be able to just do that all at once, though,
I think you'd be
There might be
surprised.
somebody ambitious out there. All right, that was our big ad read. As we're combining podcasts, we had to combine all of the ads. We're very happy to have all of these sponsors, and we hope you enjoy their services as well. Should we do some segments?
Yeah.
Alec, are you familiar with how segments work?
No.
We don't have these on Sports Dump.
Yeah, I will be honest. I've never listened to any of our podcasts, including Sports Dump.
Well,
That's good. I mean,
Josh has listened. I'm sure he's going to be listening to this later, just being like,
Probably.
Alec, you fool.
Yeah, how did you not know? It should have been me.
so we have like a Sirens banger of the week. It's like, it's really silly. Like we just find something ridiculous that happened in Sirens, and it's very easy to do. And then People's Champion of the Week, where we pick like our favorite person based on some happy or
My favorite
like
person.
Sometimes it's a dog or
Overcoming-
like a cow. It was a cow for like 3 weeks in a row for some reason.
Just
Oh, that's fun.
anything that like is notable that somebody did or something in the news. And then in the last part, Aaron goes through Facebook comments of the week, which
I've
he
heard
pulled
of
them
those.
out, and they're always just so
Great.
This week-
There's
So
a reason
great.
I never go on Facebook.
Yeah.
I will put it that way.
All right, so I left out Tales from the Takes page, the opinion section.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like getting into it, and we have plenty of stuff. So Siren's Banger of the Week, I have 2 entries. The first is a case involving, quote, pornography reported in the 1000 block of Southwest 20th Street on March 30th is under investigation, to which I say, people are just leaving porn in the street. In this economy, back in my day, we'd have to go into the woods to find porn, and now it's just on the sidewalk.
How do you find it in the woods, Aaron?
You just got every kid knew that growing up in like the
Do
90s.
you find it in the woods, or do you like bring it out into the woods?
I have
Somebody-
no
there
idea
was-
what you're talking about.
You ask somebody who is between the ages of 35 and 45.
I'm asking you. I think you're
that's
between
you.
those ages.
You're the resident expert on porn, evidently.
Everybody knew somebody who had just like found a stash of porn out in the woods.
What?
Yeah.
So, okay.
Mention this to
Absurd.
Schwartz next time you see it.
When is the last time you found porn in the woods?
Well, I haven't been to the woods. Not like
You're saying that you found porn in the woods. What do you mean
I
you've
always-
never been to the
I
woods?
always-
We live in Centralia.
I always knew somebody who was like, oh, there's a porn stash out in the woods. I know where to find it.
But you're not a part of this group.
Well, not now. I'm an adult.
But you did find it
we have
once.
the internet. I was with somebody who found some. Yeah.
So you expected to say this to me and Alec and us both to just be like, haha, yeah, of course.
Generates. You just goddamn Zoomers. Anyway, real ones know. And then the other
Do they?
Sirens Banger of the Week. Yes. A caller in Chehalis reported their ex-partner, quote, has been sending unwanted DoorDash and frequently contacting their place of work. Officers advised the caller to seek an anti-harassment order, to which I say, in this economy? Just giving away free
Is this
food?
like a bit? Is this like a normal bit in this economy thing?
I also, I'll be honest, that's the exact thing that I thought when I read this in Sirens. I was like, I would take the DoorDash. I mean, I understand, like, you're getting unwanted contact from an ex-partner. That sucks, like, but also I would eat the DoorDash.
What if they're specifically sending food items they don't like?
Oh, that would be pretty mean. But
it-
also such a waste of money.
If
Cruel.
it were too many times, I would get annoyed.
Yeah.
Even if it were free food. If it were like every day for like 3 weeks, I'd be like, all right, enough is enough.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, it's clearly that this is unwanted contact, so I get it, but,
Maybe they're stealthily just trying to fatten them up.
ooh, kind of gross.
Yeah, I don't want to think about the implications of that.
And People's Champion of the Week, I have 2 entries as well. Dick Watkins and Green on Gold, which is now open and selling pot. Is that good if you guys...
I don't know either of these people, so sure.
well, Dick Watkins is, I presume, the owner based on the pictures of Green on Gold, which is a pot store, a dispensary.
Okay.
Yeah,
Again, back in my day, you had to go to the woods to find pot.
that's like more fair,
Yeah.
and that was not that long ago.
True. And the other entry I have is Chris Kamenzine, director of the Hope Alliance. She presented to the Morton City Council and talked about how funding has been tight. Hope Alliance is the county's only 24/7 free and confidential crisis program for victims of domestic violence and sexual assault.
She would be a good pick for me, too. I have a question. Are you related to her?
No, I don't think so.
I feel like you're related to everyone, and recently Emily was like, I feel like she said she was related to somebody at the Chronicle, and I was like, I'm sure it's Aaron, just for no reason.
It might be a shoestring thing.
maybe.
One of my grandmas was a Kamenzine, so but that was a fairly common name back in the old country, I've been told.
Right.
I don't know. Anyway, yeah, maybe. Facebook comments of the week. Once again, congrats in advance on making the list, all you sickos, freaks, and horn dogs. Some sports comments on the Rochester-Tenino game that Rochester definitely won at Cheney Stadium.
They did win.
This commenter said, great photos. Thank you, Chronicle.
You're welcome.
Another commenter said, what a shot, in reference to one of the pictures with a beautiful rainbow in the back. And yet another commenter said, super good photos on a beautiful day.
How lovely. Just nice comments. Let's just stop there.
So nice.
Let's
I'm never
see.
going to post anything on Facebook other than sports photos again.
Yeah.
I don't have to read the article. Just nice compliments instead.
Yeah, aren't commenters great? On a story about Bellevue settling a fire department corpse abuse case, Jesus, for $550,000. This commenter said, "Hell, you can use my dead body for half that. Just make the check out to my wife."
What?
See, in this economy, right?
In
Like
this
he's
economy?
like, in this economy, I'll take the money. He's got your style of thinking here.
Yeah.
That is such a funny comment.
And on Centralia's levy ballots being mailed out tomorrow, this commenter takes us for a wild ride and says, "Vote no, keep voting no until this school and all the others begin teaching reading, writing, and arithmetic is their core mission. Teaching children to be successful in the real world rather than indoctrinating them into socialist puppets and drag queens. The only power we have left is vote no and keep voting no." He keeps going on and on and on like this.
Sounds like this person has definitely spent a lot of time in a Centralia school recently.
I was just going to say, Alec, you spend a lot of time at local high schools.
Ugh, the
Tell me
socialism.
about the socialism.
It's
you've
run
seen.
rampant. In baseball, they let every player in the lineup bat now.
I heard that if you go to the concession stand and say you're too poor, they will just give you food.
Yeah.
All the Wheeler burgers you can eat.
Yeah, it's bad.
That's rough.
It's bad.
Isabel, you've been at tennis matches, and I presume the socialism and the drag queens are just covering every
Just
corner of it.
everywhere. Yeah. You wouldn't believe it.
Can't believe these things. Anyway, anybody that thinks this way, just talk to a student.
Yeah.
Not one that
Go to a sporting event.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe a student you know. Don't just approach a child on the street and demand if they tell you about drag queens.
Are you a
that'll-
socialist?
Put your hands up.
Give me your copy of Marxism. Whatever. And then finally, one commenter on a story about Providence Hospital still requiring masks in their facilities says, "Then they provide a mask at the door at no cost." And somebody replies, they always have been. They won't let you wear your own in. You have to take a disposal one.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The last time I was at a hospital was. But also, like, the people who are so mad about a hospital being like, well, this is, medically safer. And they're like, "Ugh, I can't believe they're doing this to us." Like, you're free to just not go to a doctor.
This is true.
Yeah. Anyway, what's in the next edition of the newspaper that came out today or Thursday? Either of you?
Well, that Mountain View story led for today's paper, and tomorrow we'll have a write-up on the prelims from the guy who crashed with Derek Sanders.
Okay.
Yeah, there are a couple other things, but I can't really go through them in my brain without having my computer in front of me.
Back in my day, your computer'd be in the woods. Alec, what's sports covering this week?
I don't think I've ever found anything in the woods. God. And I spent a lot of time in the woods.
You could let me tell you, in the 90s, it was peak finding shit in the woods.
Oh, God. I didn't leave anything in the woods, Like, I took care of my stuff. I think this generation just doesn't care about their things.
Fair.
What year were you born, Alec?
What year was I born? 1997.
Oh, I was born in 98.
Yeah,
So you had a
guys
little
missed-
bit more 90s than me.
You guys
Yeah.
missed peak. Yeah. 2-year-old Alec just stumbling around the woods.
People always get tripped out because I tell them I don't recall. Like, I feel like our generation's thing is not like remembering 9/11.
Yeah, I don't.
Like, I don't at all. Like, it's just not. And then like a couple years older than me kids like did. So
Yeah.
like I feel like our like 98, 97 was kind of the it's kind of an interesting separator between the generations.
I have friends who are a year or two older than me who do,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
it's right
Like there's
on
like
the
a
cusp.
line.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway.
What's sports covering this week?
Oh, that's what we were asking about. Well, it's spring break, so actually a lot of things are kind of on hiatus. We'll have something on Trinity Tafoya of Tenino becoming the first Beaver wrestler to earn a wrestling scholarship.
Ooh,
She's going to Eastern Oregon, I believe. So we'll have something in the paper about that. I think
it's really cool.
there's a Little League team that won a tournament, like the LC Closers or something, that'll be in there. And then there's a couple sicko teams. Josh is at Napavine watching them play Raymond South Bend. Like, what are you doing? It's spring break.
Oh, yeah.
Come on.
Take your vacation.
Just
Come on.
sickos.
All right. Thank you for bearing with us on this edition of Chronicle Dump. We'll be back next week with a little more of what you like one way or the other, hopefully. Thanks for listening.